Hello, everyone. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are watching, listen to us. I'm really happy to open today webinar about women on supervisory board best practices, which is part of our series led with GESSEL company, by Legal Insight for Modern Leaders, because our job is to show you, present you best practices connected with being a leader in a modern company. And without further ado, let me introduce Maria Dudzińska from GESSEL. Maria will be hosting today's event and will interview wonderful guests about their experience as a supervisory boards.
Thank you, Anita. Welcome. Yes, we will start in a minute because today I have a pleasure of asking two incredibly women what it's like to be a member of a supervisory board, what the challenges of this role are, and what practices boards can follow to create a better environment and better businesses. And maybe just one thing more, why I'm here, because normally I'm the attorney at law and in GESSEL litigation and arbitration team, and on the daily basis I deal with corporate issues and mostly disputes. But today I will interviewing my wonderful guests. And so let me introduce and welcome Małgorzata Chruściak, top expert in financial market law, for many years practicing a lawyer, including 10 years as a partner of banking practice as the Polish branch of international law firm CMS. Recognized in several important international rankings, such as Chambers or Legal 500. And since 2020, she has started to develop the non-legal part of her career, and now professionally supports lawyers, but not only lawyers, in building their careers. In building personal brand and strengthening the leadership skills at the different stages of their lives. And what is very close to my heart, she has been recognized by Forbes and Women in Law Foundation as leading business lawyer in 2021. And last but not least, she is an independent member of the supervisory board on BNP Paribas Bank, and I hope she will share with us some reflections in that area today. Welcome, Małgorzata.
Thank you. Thank you very much for this kind introduction, and welcome everyone. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are.
And also Anna Podkowińska-Tretyn, top manager and leader in digital transformation and digital business building, currently country director in Too Good To Go, previously in several big brands in media, e-commerce, and new technologies, most recently CEO of Everly Poland, an investor and business angel. And what's more, she is actively involved in many initiatives for women and support organizations such as Vital Voices. She has been recognized in the Strong Women in IT 2023 Global Edition report. And she joined us today mainly as an independent member of the supervisory board of Vivid Games and also as a chairwoman of the MindGrab Supervisory Board. Welcome, Anna.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much, Maria, for the introduction. I'm always very overwhelmed with such a nice word, so thanks a lot.
Welcome. But before I ask our guests for their point of view, let me steal a few minutes of our time to share with you with some insights regarding legal grounds for the duties of Supervisory Boards members. And this brief legal introduction will be the first part of our meeting today. And then we will move on to the second part, the discussion with our guests, which I dare to say is the counterpiece of the program, and which I know many of our listeners are waiting for. But let's start with the presentation. As you can see, there are some figures regarding the Supervisory Board, and we are, according to the Polish National Court Register, in the end of 2023, there were approximately 77,000 Supervisory Board members in Poland, so quite a lot. Of these, approximately 30,000 will be Supervisory Boards members of joint stock companies, and about 44,000 will be Supervisory Board members of limited liability company. These are two most popular types of companies. There are other forms, but let's focus on these two. And bearing in mind that there are a big number of limited liability companies, which is much bigger than the joint stock companies, the first thing is that the limited liability company is a supervisory board. In those companies, the supervisory board is generally not obligatory. There are some exceptions, namely if the company has more than 25 participants or the share capital is more than 500,000 of zlotys. But as I said, generally it is not obligatory. And only about 10% of limited liability companies has the supervisory board. Secondly, let's take a look at the general view of where the supervisory boards fits in the corporate puzzle. As we all know, the supervisory board is one of the corporate bodies, and in those companies where the supervisory board is obligatory, it looks generally like this. So we have the management board, the supervisory board, and the shareholders meetings or the general assembly meetings in the joint stock companies. And but what's interesting, the shareholders meeting is, I would say, the most important body. This is due to the fact that the shareholders are actually the owners of the company. But what if there are hundreds or thousands of shareholders? The supervisory board is one of answers, and those companies, those shareholders usually appoint the smaller group of people to have the supervision over the company's activities. And this is one of the reasons why the supervisory board as a body must have the general overview regarding corporate policy. And that's why, as a matter of principle, the supervisory board is a body that has the power to appoint the members of the management board, and such members usually report to the supervisory board. And this is, I would say, the matter of existence, the supervisory board. Let's move forward. In this slide, I just wanted to show you what the formal competences and duties of a supervisory board member are from a legal point of view. Quite a lot, but what is, I think, really important is that, as it's said in the Polish Company Code, the supervisory board exercise constant supervision over the company's activities in all areas of its operation. So yeah, that's I think the general rule of the existence of supervisory board. And finally, I would like to say few words about some terms related to the supervisory board membership, as we will certainly use them during the discussion. For example, who is an independent board member? This is a member who does not have any relationship with shareholders, the company, of its employees. That could be a potential source of conflict of interest. Corporate governance, in its most common sense, this is the system of rules, practices, and processes by which a company is directed and controlled. And when we will be talking about best practices, we would like to share with you some insights into the best way to manage and run a company's business. It's also worth mentioning that there are also best practices that function as a set of rules and standards established by organizations or bodies. And this is so-called soft law. And the best example is the Code of Best Practices of the Polish Stock Exchange, currently in its 2021 version. It's formally intended for public companies. However, it is worth encouraging all companies to take a look at it, and it is a very good, trustworthy, and recognized source to use in your organization. That's all I prepared. So now we can go forward and start discussion with our guests. And first of all, I would like to share with you, before my first question, with my personal view that we are witnessing a change in the way we look at the role of a supervisory board member. And I have to admit that in the past, there were supervisory boards where the members were, I would say, not so active. And now I think this model has changed. It seems to me that the modern supervisory board member is not only the man or woman who elects the members of the management board and gives an opinion on the financial statements. But I think nowadays the supervisory board membership is about constant supervision over all activities of the company. And I think it's not only because regulations have changed, for example, regulations regarding the Polish Companies Code, but also because our Polish companies or CEE companies or market itself has become more mature, I would say, or even sophisticated. And this is a sign of some kind of evolution, I suppose, of the corporate governance. And I wonder if you think in the same way about the supervisory board membership. So this brings me for my first question to you. That could we say that there are any styles of the supervisory board's membership? Of course, there's always specifics of the company, of its internal rules, and so on. But are there any characteristics or qualities that the board member needs to have? So Małgosia, could you tell about it, about your role?
Yeah, sure, with a pleasure. I will be happy to share my view. You mentioned during your presentation various companies. I am a member of the board of the listed company, and more addition, it is a bank. So it means that it operates in a highly regulated area, which also influence the scope of skills, the composition of skills, competences, experience of person being candidate to the supervisory board. So, but I would like to leave it aside and focus, because this is something that everyone could check herself on himself. But I would like to focus on my perspective from my coming from my observations. So I'm being in this role for 3 years, so I think it's good time to have some such observations. So I fully agree with the picture that you showed, and I would like to add some more flavor to it. The first one is VUCA world. We are all live in a VUCA world, which means that working on the board, we have to analyze risks in a VUCA world, and which means we have to find a way to live with volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity of which we faces on our daily basis. It's our daily reality. What's more, the complexity of environment in which business operates, including technological and market changes, globalization, climate changes, it all becomes more and more demanding. What's more, you mentioned that the market is becoming more and more mature, and the stakeholders, they are also becoming much mature and demanding. And stakeholders, it is worth to mention that stakeholders means not only the shareholders, but it's much more broader. It covers this definition, covers also the employees of the company, the future employees of the company. Of course, it's the company's clients, and in general, the market environment. So, and all those stakeholders are becoming much more demanding, not only in terms of the return on equity, which is obvious, but also on the way how the company adjusts its operations to the requirement of ESG, DNI. So this is really very, very demanding environment, and it comes me to the conclusion that it is not possible to be to keep the generalistic approach, which means because it is not possible to, or it would be unrealistic, especially in such a complex market like financial market, for example. It would be unrealistic to look for someone who could cover each and all areas which are relevant for the company. So it means that I believe, and this is what I observe, a modern supervisory board is looking for more specific competences in such area like audit, risk, including legal risk, technology, climate, knowledge of the market, and it rather focuses on composition, on ensuring that the composition of the supervisory board as a whole, it fulfills all the requirements and it covers all the areas which are relevant and important from the perspective of the company's business and company's strategy. On the top of that, I would add that in this position, there must be some additional competences, such like appropriate seniority level, managerial and leadership competences, because the supervisory board, this is the board which, as you said, the management board reports to the supervisory board, which means that it is not only the role of the supervisory board is to challenge the management board members. It is also to support, to provide the additional perspective, the broadened perspective. It's a kind of the sparring partner for the management board. So I think it looks very complex, but I hope it would be interesting to make it more information later on.
Thank you, Małgosia. It is very refreshing to see this role as also as supportive. Yeah,
Yes,
I think it's very good point. And Anna, would you like to share with us with your point of view about this quality?
Yeah, sure. I think that I can absolutely only echo what Małgorzata said. And it's super visible that in the last 5-10 years, especially 5 years, I would say, the role of supervisory board, not only from the legal perspective, but overall is really changing. But I would build on this, adding one thing. So obviously supervisory boards are required by law in the public companies, but I see also the trend for privately held companies, especially startup scale-ups, to build supervisory boards, not to really supervise the entities, but be the advisory body to the founders in a way really as the normal supervisory board is working. And for that, you also need really diversity in the board. The people who are very much focused, they have experience, obviously maturity, seniority to advise, but also they are sharing very different experiences to bring more different perspective to the either management board or the founders of the companies. So I think that it's exactly this direction everywhere, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
And it's super interesting also because it's opening a lot more doors to the supervisory boards or for new, let's say, competencies, and also people with the different background, not only legal, so-called, or finance, as it was in the past, probably more used to be, let's say, in the past.
Małgosia, would you like to
add?
If
I would add, I fully agree that it is, that now the market is very interesting, and this role is extremely interesting because it is such open. And I believe that if I would have to answer say what is the most important in this role, I would say that it is openness for learning. First, unlearning of the various habits, for example, which are not useful anymore, and to learn, because we are in the world where each day we are facing something which is new, and not only for the specific person, but in general. Sometimes there are issues which are new for management board, for the supervisory board, and even for the market. So we have to follow it, and I think this is the main important to be open for such learning.
Thank you. Yeah, totally true. And let's move forward, because I would like to also ask you about the beginning of this journey, and where were you in your career when you were invited to the board? Anna, could you tell us something about?
Sure. So my first experience was pretty long time ago, but it was the supervisory board of the company which my previous employer was acquiring, and then I started to work with this company. So it was completely, supported by the place of work. But then I realized that it's something which is super interesting, because it's like working as the supervisory board member, you still keep eye on the business very closely, but you have to really change your mindset. And I really agree, this is like unlearning and learning again, you are not really managing the things, but you need to advise in a way to, you know, to make things happen, and it's slightly different than managing the business itself. So it was very interesting experience, and then I realized I want to do it in a, you know, more broader scale, let's say, and started to really look for the opportunities, but also educating myself and, you know, looking for the development. So yeah, it was the beginning, but obviously I think it's always starting from the openness to the potentials, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Małgosia.
Fully agree that openness is crucial. I received my offer 3 years ago, and at that time I had more than 20 years experience as a lawyer. I used to be head of the banking and financial team in a very reputable law firm, international law firm. After that, I have a couple of years of experience in EY, which was pretty different experience. So when I received my offer to join Supervisory Board of BNP Paribas Polska, at that time I was in EY law, but I was I was a member of the team advising general financial institutions. Not only banks, and not only, what was the most interesting for me, not only from the legal perspective. So I was the member of the advisory business advisory team, which was very refreshing after 20 years of being just lawyer and advising on legal topics. So I mention it because for me it was very important, to assess my suitability to accept this role, because I believe that this, both being the legal advisor and a kind of business advisor, or having good knowledge of how is it to be business advisor, I found it very solid fundament for accepting this offer, that I can add value in the supervisory board. At that time, I was also starting my own business, my individual coaching and mentoring practice. So it was also very helpful. And when I had my interview before, when I was shortlisted, and there was interview before the final proposal, I talked about it. I was thinking whether I should ask that I'm very interested in this topic, that I'm practicing, that I'm qualified coach and mentor. But I said, okay, that's a part of me. So I mentioned it, and it was very interesting for me because about 1/3 time of our meeting, we talk about mentoring and coaching and how it could help to develop people. What interesting tool it is. So it was it, and from today's perspective, I think that I received my offer, my proposal, at absolutely perfect time.
So it was also, like Anna said, this advisory role, right, in supervisory board. So yeah, that's very interesting. Thinking about it in that way, that firstly that you can add something, yeah, to the board, and also to be the advisor, yeah, to the management board.
I asked this question when I was invited to the board. I had a meeting with the management board members, and I asked this question to some of them, and what they think, what they want me to be in this role, what they expect, what kind of support they need. And they said that, okay, challenging, this is something which is obvious because this is the part of the role, so here it is. But they also said that they also expect, to receive some advice, some support, to receive, some other perspective, some broader perspective. So yes, I'm trying to do my best to fulfill this role.
Not only to challenge management board, but
Yes.
as you said, also to support and to advise. Yeah? Okay,
I think
and
also this is
yes,
just
please,
one
Anna,
comment.
please.
I think that just one comment. I think that this is also something which is pretty new to the supervisory board's recruitment overall. So first of all, it's really a recruitment process for majority of the cases and positions with either internal or external resources, so either headhunter and I think it makes a lot of sense because at the end you really need to. I mean, there must be strategy. What kind of supervisory board member you are looking for to fulfill the current team of the people, which probably we'll discuss more about diversity, etc. But I think it's also something new to the change, especially in Poland, let's say. I think it's more normal on the more developed, let's say, market, but in Poland it's still pretty new.
Yes, exactly. This is a sign of our times, I suppose, and this looks like that we are going in this modern form.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the banking, the banks and the financial world can show the path. I think, because in the financial sector, this is very formal process. The recruitment process is very formal. And for example, there is a very extensive questionnaire of suitability, starting from self-assessment of suitability, and it covers both individual suitability as well as the collective. Of course, not in each company such process must be so complicated, so complex. Quite opposite. Nevertheless, I'm a lawyer, but I believe that our world is over-regulated. But I think that this process, especially the first part, the self-assessment part of questionnaire, for me was very helpful to find out what are my strengths, what are my weaknesses. Because I do not only have to show my competences, I also have to prove them, showing some specific cases. So yeah, it was very difficult. It took me a few days to fulfill the questionnaire, but yeah, it was very interesting exercise.
Okay. So let's move forward, and I would like to also ask about the corporate culture. So, from your perspective, as a supervisor board member, how important it is? How important is the corporate culture of the company? Does this affect the performance of your duties, or maybe are board members more like external experts, providing oversight and not concerned with relationships within the organization? So, Małgosia.
Definitely not external advisor. I have a lot of experience being external advisor, so I really can say that this is a huge difference. Coming back to your question about the corporate culture and how important it is, I think that this is absolutely crucial. I'm trying not to use word never, but probably I would never accept the invitation to the company, to the board of the company, to which values corporate culture I would not feel trust, which would not be, I would not share the same values. So it would be, I could not believe being myself in such role. So I can only say about the culture which is very supportive. And for me, as I said, I'm in this role for 3 years, so it was pretty new for me, pretty sometimes always very exciting, sometimes confusing, different situations. But so it is very important to feel trust, to feel that you can rely on the other members of the supervisory board, to feel that they really want to share with you all their knowledge, to be supportive. So I believe that it is crucial from the inside supervisory board perspective. But I think in general it is, I believe, what really matters, it is the strong cooperation between the supervisory board, the management board, but also the employees of the company, which goes much beyond the formal meetings. It is, I think that it is not possible to look after the best interest of the company without building such good relationship based on personal commitment of the board, not only the members of the boards, but also the employees. So coming back to my experience, and for example, independent members of the management board, we really cooperate very closely. We have some regular informal meetings to meet each other. I feel very strong support in the fields which are not my area of expertise. For example, I was invited by the head of audit committee to attend meetings during which with a goal to prepare for the supervisory board meetings. So I could, ask some questions, not in the full board, but just, between us and the person from the bank who supports us in preparation for the meeting. So I can check whether I properly understand some issues. He also give me some advices when he feels that it is something which is very specific for our bank. So I might have not good understanding of the context. So it's I think it's I cannot imagine the other scenario of cooperation between management board, supervisory board employees than the one that I can see in my bank.
Thank you, Małgosia. And Anna, how important the corporate culture is for you?
Yeah, I think that I would like to have a slightly different perspective to this. So I think that obviously personally, probably especially at this stage of my kind of professional life, the values are the most important thing of choosing the company I would like to cooperate, work, be part of the supervisory board, whatever, invest, etc. But I can also imagine a completely different approach, which is like, if you start with the question why you want to be in this particular supervisory board, then you can choose the answer based on this question and your state of your life, like in general. So you may also agree to not to go with the values because of some other reasons, or you may believe that maybe culture is not that important to you because, I don't know, you want to join to the first company, etc. So probably there are other options as well. I, unfortunately, because then webinar is pretty boring, agree with Małgosia that this culture piece and the values piece is super, super important. I think also, again, that recruitment and the smart choosing of the supervisory board of the company is very important, because if you have a chance to talk to other members to the board, then you really recognize those values before the decision to join, and then you really understand what you are setting up for. And if you do not do it, sometimes you can be surprised, like in the normal recruitment process, and you have to face the reality. So my advice would be to everybody, also to myself always, to really have this background check, the proper recruitment process on both sides, to really understand the company, know the company, especially if it is not the huge, big corporate, but smaller one, to be sure that you understand also this this culture of the company. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. And I would like to also ask you about best practices and best practices in the daily work of a supervisor board member. It's specific, of course, because the work is mostly during the sessions, during the board meetings, and shortly before, I suppose. And it usually involves hours of analysis of documents. But are there any specific methods or measures that you take before the board meeting? Małgosia, you said about this kind of, let's say, additional meetings, not in formal way. This is something I think I find interesting. And could you tell us, or maybe other best practices you also
Okay, with pleasure. Yeah, because for me it was also quite surprising information that in addition to the formal meetings, there are also regular informal meetings, and there are different forms of the meetings. Sometimes there are workshops organized for management board and supervisory board, or for supervisory board members. They are not mandatory, but they are extremely interesting. They cover various topics connected with situation of the banks, but also the market trends. So like, for example, last week we had a meeting regarding the Gen AI to better understand what are the constraints of this tool, which is fantastic, but there are also some possible problems that it might cause. So it was very interesting for me to hear. First of all, it was at the beginning, that was introduction for the people who are not experts on AI, and then it was information how we are coping with those constraints, for example, in a bank, how we are trying to avoid them, mitigate them, and how we would like to use the AI instruments. So I believe that for such topic, there is no place in the formal meeting. It took about 2 hours, 2.5 hours. Anyone could ask questions. It was also attended by one member of the management board, supervisory board, who is an expert on IT. So Sophie, she gave us a broader perspective. She's employee of BNP Paribas. And she showed us how it might work from the group perspective. So it was extremely interesting. So this is one type of meetings. There are also meetings which are totally informal. So we are usually having dinner. The independent members of the supervisory board are invited by the chairwoman of the supervisory board for a meeting. So we have opportunity just to talk about holidays, kids, just to meet, to know each other better. And of course, we always talk about some issues, the most important issues regarding the bank. I think in that, it's good to be in a constant contact with people from the bank, with like me, with head of legal department, but also to attend meetings organized for clients, for employees. And my favorite part of my job, this is attending various very interesting meetings, events. For example, the one connected with Women Up initiative in the bank, or Future Up mentoring process, in which I propose that I would be more than happy to be engaged as mentor. So there are a lot of opportunities, being in touch with people from the bank, and it is not, of course, daily basis contact, but very regular, and much more often than the formal meetings of the supervisory board.
Thank you. That's again about strength of network, right? Also.
Yes.
Anna, you wanted to add?
Yes, I just wanted to add that I would always start with the product understanding. So if we are joining the company who is producing pillars, it's super good to go to the store, buy pillars, and see how good or how bad they are and what's the experience, because it's much easier to really advise, work, be the part of the supervisory board if you understand the process, and also to do it on a regular basis to understand what is changing and how it's really developing, what the competition is doing as well in this field. So it's on top of what Małgosia said. I think it's an important part. Obviously, informal meetings, quite often they are bringing more knowledge than the formal one, because formal, they have their own structure and they are very formal, as the name explains this. And I sometimes thinking about the role of the supervisory board a bit as a doctor. So, you are asking a lot of questions, which sometimes seems to be completely out of the moon. And then you really realize some details which are very important. And then based on that, you can really help. And third point is really to have a lot of discussion inside to understand also how you can help the company to develop, change, growth. So, yeah. It's not only formal. If it would be formal, it would be probably very much, once a month or whatever. It depends on the structure of the supervisory board meetings. But I think all of those other things are bringing really this knowledge about the company, and then also support. And I would not always forget about the customers of the company. So it's not only employee inside, but also there are the stakeholders outside. So customers, either like B2B, so consumers, B2C, sorry, consumers, or B2B companies. It's always sometimes good to have some discussion with them about their experience. So it's very broad, I would say, if you want to really make it full.
And that's interesting about what you said about understanding product and understanding business, right? Of the company that you are in. Tell us, Anna, also, because you are the member of more than one supervisory board, and also as a chairwoman. Could you tell us, are there any methods, are those methods to prepare to this work similar, or maybe it depends on in which company you're acting at the time?
No, I think that some of the things are the same, some of the things are different. So a lot depends on if the company is the public one or the not public, so not listed, let's say. And also, I think a lot depends on the overall supervisory board diversity, in a sense. So I think that in the Vivid Games, we have a structure of the supervisory board which covers all of the areas. So we have a legal part, finance part, we have a business part, M&A part, and I think this is something which makes me feel comfortable to be in, because I believe that my colleagues are cover the things which I'm not the most, competent in. I can learn from them, they can learn from my part, and together we can probably bring more to the companies. So I think that if you have such a full example of the full supervisory board, then probably the preparation and also how the work of the supervisory board is ongoing, it's slightly different than if you have a more more less, let's say, diversified supervisory bond, where you really feel that you have to cover more areas and you have to then learn, be prepared better. That's the one of the perspective, but obviously I think that there's more differences between the different status of how to work with the supervisory boards. Also the companies themselves, they are at different stages of the development. They need different support. They need also different legal, for example, decisions. So some of the things frameworks probably are pretty similar, but then what's inside is very, very different.
You told also about diversity, and it brings me to my next questions, also about generally sustainability. So could we also talk a little bit about it? So because we are now in the discussion about quotas on company boards, generally on company boards, mainly because of the Women on Boards directive. It will comes to force it should come to force by end of this year. As far as I know, the act is prepared in Ministry of Justice, and I know that there are also a strong representation of women in your organizations. So could you tell me also, is it possible to speak of a female and male perspective in the performance of tasks of the supervisory board member, or how may diversity in general, not only in the terms of gender, affect the work of the board? Anna, could you tell us something about this matter? What do you think?
No, I think that it's very broad topic. I think that we can stay for a few hours right now and for a few years as well, probably, and discuss this. But overall, I think, and it's really changing with my experience also, that so if you would ask me a few years ago about the quotas, I would say, no, we shouldn't go in this direction. Right now, I think that we really have to. And I think that quotas is not to make women's life easier, because then there will be quotas and they have to be there. But it's really to learn us as the society that we need to have this diversity everywhere to make more voices and to be also more effective. So there's a lot of researches about how diversified teams, not only supervisory boards, but overall teams are more effective. And I think that it's not only about the woman, but a lot of other diversity perspective. So it's obvious, and I think we have to, or I believe that we have to force it for some time, and then I think we get there, by normal life, let's say, and it will be much easier. So I'm absolutely in favor to do it. We discussed this just before the webinar. So I was the participant of the supervisory board post-academic education, let's say 1 year school. It was the first edition in Poland. And what was really funny to me was that 80 or 90% of the participants were women. Once right now in the supervisory boards, we have mainly men. So we women, we still believe that we have to educate ourselves. Once our colleagues are sure that they are already there. And I think this is one of the things why, so this is one of the examples why we need quotas, to push us women to be more brave and be there really, and sit at the table and discuss and bring the values to the company. That's for sure.
I fully agree that, talking about the woman gender diversity, I believe that women, we are very well educated. We are very, very well prepared for this role. We've got full skills and qualifications. So it is, too good to be wasted. I think so. So yeah, and my bank, it's really a great example of success story, not only in terms of the gender diversity. Now we have in the supervisory board full equality, 50-50%, and the chairperson is woman. So that's great, and we have 3 women in management board, and one may ask question how we come to this point, and I believe that the most important is the approach, the general approach towards the ESG and sustainability. The one possible approach is just to treat it as another legal constraints and requirements that have to be fulfilled. But the other approach is that it creates some new opportunities, and it is really much more than reporting obligations, and it should be looked from a very wider perspective and to be just included in the strategy itself. So this is what was done in my bank. In the strategy, which was prepared for the years 2022-25, there were specified KPIs, some metrics regarding ESG goals, and such as, for example, the number of women or underrepresented gender in the supervisory and management and supervisory board, and we've got this target even before the time. But what is also important that there are also the topic is much wider, because there are other types of diversity, or for example disability, neurodiversity, sexual orientation. I would also add to this list my something which I am really passionate is the diversity of cognitive styles. So this is very, very wide topic, and I fully agree with Anna that we may spend hours discussing this topic.
Exactly. I totally agree.
Final sentence, but I think it is really worth to observe and success stories and look the reasons why they are successful. What is behind it?
I agree. And I know that we have comments and questions. So would you like to also say something about it? And a question is to all of you. So based on the Deloitte's data, there was just 1 woman present on the supervisor board regarding 400 research companies. So what would be your advice to women maybe who are listening us and considering taking on the boards? What we can do to bring more women to the boards, and how to change this situation? Małgosia.
I think that the best answer is to make it the part of the business strategy, and see all the advantages which are resulting from diversity. So, and we women, we are ready. We are really, we are very well prepared, as I said. I don't want to repeat myself. And but the advice that I would give to women, someone who is thinking about whether it is worth or not, whether she is prepared, enough educated, I would pass through the advice that I received from a very significant person to myself, from Józef Wancer, when I was just going to the meeting after being shortlisted, and he told to, and I was really, it was quite stressful situation. I was for the first time in this situation, and it was very important for me what would be the result, what would be the outcome. And he told me, just be yourself. And it made me just it was a kind of relief, and it changed my perspective for 180%. So that would be my advice.
It brings me to the comment that we also have to just listen to wonderful mentors, right?
Yeah.
That's the way we can change the situation. And Anna, would you?
Yeah, I think that,
advice?
I would add to this that first of all, we have to be more vocal as the woman. I think that we really have a lot to offer, and sometimes we just kind of still sitting shy and waiting that someone will pick us, which I think is a wrong approach. I mean, let's be ourselves. So obviously, if it is too much, let's not do it. But I think that it's super important to really be more vocal and visible. And the other advice is also, let's support each other, because I think it's kind of like the super normal thing that people get used to or they prefer to really pick the people as themselves. So, I mean, it's kind of like the snowball effect. We have more men, so they're picking more men. Let's try to change it. I mean, we as the woman, we can also support other women to really, bring them to the table and, first of all, commit that we'll support them, convince them that they are ready, and then also, help them to make it happen. So probably those two things for sure. It's for all of us, let's say, to take.
And our time is almost over, so I think it was a wonderful point to finish our wonderful discussion.
Really.
And time always flies in such a wonderful company. So thank you, Anna. Thank you, Małgosia. And I give the floor to Anita again.
Thank you very much.
You're
on mute.
Yeah, I'm not unmuted. So thank you, ladies, for discussion. I have to agree with Maria that always such interesting discussion is like a blink of an eye. It happens so fast. And Gosia, just to let me say to you, I love the quote, "We women, we are ready." That's a really powerful sentence, and I hope that it will stay with us forever. And what Gosia, Anna said, let's be more vocal. Absolutely, I couldn't agree more. And thank you, Maria, for hosting this event. I believe that your experience in cooperation with supervisory boards was really useful here, and you could touch this points that really are important for us if you think about such new journey of our career. So ladies, Anna, Małgosia, Maria, thank you so much for having the time, sharing your point of view. And what I want to do now is to invite you to our next event that will be in 2 weeks. And it is entitled Making a Difference. And it will be our special webinar with our special guests that we will, I won't maybe now introduce, but I hope you will love it. It will be about expansion. It will be about growing our businesses, and it will be about leadership position. So thank you once again, Maria, Małgorzata, Anna, for joining us, having time. And I believe that your time is money, and I believe your knowledge will be useful for our strong women. So thank you once again. Wish you a good evening, good day, good week, good year, and goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.